today. First of all, I want to say thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm glad you're all here. I'm Verl Workman, CEO of Workman Success Systems, and I want to share with you today some things that we're doing across the country, really across North America, to help message differently to our agents. The title of today's webinar is, the words really matter, and how we message to our people and how we teach our agents and staff how to message to their client really does matter. And I've brought in 3 experts today that are doing just a phenomenal job at leading in a time where a lot of brokers are kind of hiding and pulling back. And so for those of you that are on the call today, I want to just congratulate you for spending your time here. I know there's a lot of Zoom fatigue. A lot of people are on these calls and they're getting tired of being on Zoom all day long, and you have to get up and do some other things. And so I want to make sure that when we do a Zoom call, when we do a webinar like this or a meeting, that it has a high level of value, so that when you invest your time, you leave here with some real things, some real actionable items that will make a difference in your brokerages. And this is our Broker Town Hall. I'm excited to be here. We're also going to give away some things at the end of this call today. Our presenters have put together some things that I want to be able to share with you all. So take a picture of this slide. It's the workmansuccess.com/town hall. And at the end of the meeting, I'll put it up one more time, and you'll be able to download some of the content and things that we share with you on the call, including the way we're messaging and the way we're communicating and sharing with each other. For those of you who haven't turned your video on yet, I'm going to encourage you to turn your video on. It keeps you engaged and allows us to interact with you and see your smiling faces. And so let me just, as a reminder, ask you one more time to please turn your video on. The other things I'd like you to do is go into your chat box and just say hello and where you're from. And so go into the group chat and just say, hi, this is Randy from Salt Lake. I want to know where Malik is from, or Jan and Jean and Shelly and Michelle. Go in and say hello and where you're from, so we know who we're talking to in the different marketplaces that are represented here. Today we have 3 really, I call them esteemed guests today. And I'm going to go through and just give you some personal introductions of each. They're all friends and they're all clients or coaches of Workman Success Systems. They all run successful businesses and they all make a massive impact on the people that they serve. I see that Ashley's here from Dallas and Yolanda's from Henderson, Georgia. We have we from Colorado is on the call. So we have a good group here, Nate. Everybody, please welcome Nate Martinez. He's a broker owner of RE/MAX Professionals in Glendale, Arizona and the surrounding areas. Nate is a legend in real estate. He's someone that I've watched as a leader for the last 20 years go from real estate agent to broker owner to mega broker owner to watching the whole real estate market crash, become one of the leading experts in bank-owned properties and REOs, helping a lot of people through difficult times, and then completely transitioning his individual business from a high volume distressed property business to more luxury real estate, golf course front property real estate. He runs a successful team and a successful brokerage with multiple offices. He's a Workman Success Systems senior coach. He makes a big difference in a lot of the brokerages he works with. Nate primarily works with brokers and owners who also run their own teams, and he has a high level of specialty in doing both. Nate, thank you for being here. Welcome to the call today.
Well, thank you very much, Verl. It's always an honor to help everybody in the country.
And we appreciate all that you do. Interestingly enough, Nate introduced me to Sarah Michelle. This is Sarah Michelle Bliss. Sarah Michelle is one of the few master coaches that we have at Workman Success Systems. It's a handful of elite coaches that do a phenomenal job. When Nate introduced me to Sarah Michelle, his exact words were, I have this amazing person that's been with me for years that does these incredible training programs and coaches our agents, and she just gives. And I think she'd be a good fit for Workman. And after about 2 seconds of talking to her, I felt the same way. And she has quickly not only grown as a coach, but she's continued to grow Nate's offices and pour into the agents and does live training. And so we have a master coach with us, as well as one of the best live training, I don't know what the word is for that, live trainers in the country, running BAM Live and Slam Live and different programs in the RE/MAX offices in Nate zones. This is Sarah Michelle Bliss. Everybody, welcome Sarah Michelle.
Thank you, Verl. It's a pleasure to be here. So thank you. Thank you for the kind words.
We're just excited you're here. And Chance just has a nicer truck than me, and so because of that, I invited him to this call. Chance Brown's in Houston, Texas, and Chance is a coaching client of Workman Success Systems. He works with his coach, Cleve Gaddis, and it's been really fun to watch Chance and Cleve work together as they've incorporated what I like to call our 3 different levels of expertise. We have Workman Success Systems and Processes, we have Cleve Gaddis Systems and Processes, and we have Chance Brown Systems and Processes. And as a broker owner with a new brand, he has completely transitioned the way he thinks about how a brokerage should be run. He's implementing new training, new ideas, new systems, and new processes into a new commission concept that has caused tremendous growth. I would say that Chance is always a pleasure to be around because he's always innovating. He's always taking whatever we do and just making it a little bit better, putting it on steroids. And man, he's so gracious, as all of our guests are today, at just giving back and sharing. And so, Chance, congratulations on all your success. Thank you for being such a giver, and thank you for putting on your dress T-shirt.
Yeah, that's right. That's my fanciest T-shirt I have. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
And anyone who can't read it says that running comps is my cardio, and which is totally, I agree with that 100%. And so running comps is our cardio. And so welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. And I want to, so the purpose of today's meeting is to talk to all of you about really about how we're messaging to our agents and how we're keeping them productive. And so I would like to talk to each of you and just have a little bit of a discussion about what we're doing with our agents to keep them productive and doing transactions. Every one of you are doing transactions in your markets. And first of all, why don't we start, if we can, with Chance. I'll start from the back and then go forward. Chance, are you guys essential in Houston where you're doing real estate? Tell me about what the climate of doing real estate is and how you're getting your agents to. Let's just start with the climate. Tell me about what you are. What's your climate?
Yep. So we're the entire state of Texas. Real estate is deemed essential. So we're still able to do showings, still able to do things, but I think everybody is really working from a position of caution and working from a position of, let's try to do as much virtually as we can, and then we'll do the in-person stuff where we have to. And we're still listing, we're still selling at a really impressive clip, all things considered. We also have the double dose right now of oil being in the tank, which really, inordinately affects the Houston marketplace as opposed to a lot of the rest of the country where, 7 to 10% of the people are in the oil industry. Here we have a significantly higher percentage, probably somewhere closer to 50. And so for a lot of us in Houston, that's really the bigger fear right now than the impact. And we're also in a place where the governor has just notified everybody that we're going to start opening up. We're waiting on an announcement today or tomorrow. So
yeah, that's great. I was listening to the governor in Atlanta yesterday, and the governor of Atlanta is getting a lot of heat. It's kind of interesting because he's saying, yeah, we're going to open up like gyms and hair salons. And they're like, what about all the essential services? He said, and his response was, I never closed them, so we don't need to open them. So I didn't close everything, so we don't have to reopen everything. We don't have to open the things that were closed. So let's get back to doing some things. I think it's really important that we stay safe. No matter what, it's not our job to tell people what they should be thinking or feeling, but it's to create a safe environment for them to be able to transact. Sarah, tell me a little bit about what you're experiencing in Arizona. And Nate, you and Sarah are in the same place, so you can add to what you can after Sarah.
Yeah, so we're also our governor is pretty loosey-goosey with our what's considered essential and non-essential. So real estate is still happening, and it's been my experience in talking to the agents and having them come to classes and things that it's varying. You've got some that are completely freaked out and shut down, staying home, thinking that that they can't sell real estate. Others we've got one gal that's having her best month ever, and she's just killing it. So it just depends on their mindset and where they are, but we're still essential. And Nate's been sharing some statistics about how many houses are still coming on the market, how many are still going under contract, and tracking the fallout rate, which has been really interesting. That's been my word through this whole thing, is interesting. Isn't that interesting? Because every time something new comes up, that's all I can say is isn't that interesting? So Phoenix was already really robust, and I am hearing from agents that there is a drop off or a little bit of a change in buyer activity, but I have noticed that inventories come up, and that's a good thing in the Phoenix market because we didn't have enough.
I think that's been the case in most markets.
Yeah, I'll add to that. As of the 1st is when we were supposed to be opened up again. I think at least the governor has allowed hospitals to start doing specialty procedures now. And that's, I have a friend that lives down the street that is a client of mine, and he's a orthopedic surgeon. He said they've been pretty much shut down. He goes, and the hospitals are dying because the COVID hasn't been taking over the hospitals as they thought they would. And so the revenue to the hospitals are way down. So that's going to be good for the economy. It's good for all the people on the fence that needed some of these elective surgeries or surgeries that needed to be done, but they were pushed off. Our market is absolutely, and I love Cleve's analogy that he shared with me earlier in the week. You know, our real estate market's like a river, and right now it's a little bit dammed up, and the waters are down, and there's a little bit of rapids. But overall, I mean, the market is pretty strong here. I have some data I'll share a little bit later about fallouts and us listings being taken, and kind of the overall projection of our market. I do know that that dam is going to break, and we're going to have a raging river here in the next, I would say, 60 days through the rest of the year in the Phoenix marketplace.
I think that's great, and I appreciate everybody sharing with me what's going on. You know, one thing we all have in common is we all want to be safe, and we all want to stay in business. We all want to make sure that our agents are not just being sequestered in their homes, but they're being productive. So I'd like to hear from each of you what messaging you're giving to your agents. So Chance, what did you start doing, and how are you continuing to message to your agents to keep them transacting and fired up and moving things forward?
Yeah, so we started really, really early on. In fact, I was on a spring break trip in England when the president issued the travel ban, and we ended up, making a mad dash across England at 2 a.m. to get to a flight back home before, airways started shutting down and we were trapped over there. And so as soon as we got home, our first message was, we're going to operate from a place of calm and reason and make logical decisions. Because a lot of times when you get scared, when you get, there's a lot of news out there that's just really frightening to a lot of people, and you get anxious and you make bad short-term based decisions. And so our first message to our people was, we are going to focus on the future. We're going to focus on when this is over. We're going to build on daily activities and habits that you can be doing right now. And then the second part of that was, we just followed it up really, really regularly. Up until Friday of last week, we were going live via Zoom with all of our agents every other day to track what was changing in the market, what was changing in the mortgage world, which seemed to be, we kind of went from the, oh no, we don't know if we're essential or not, to we're not going to be able to underwrite any loans because we don't have tax certificates, to title figuring that out, to will we be able to record because of counties being shut down, to now the mortgage-backed securities market being a mess. And really just the volume of crazy has kind of slowed down. And so now we're just doing once a week updates on things. But the term that I have used from the very beginning of this was, I've been trying to keep close to 300 agents just facing forward, all facing the same direction. And so we focused on that. We focused on, really narrowing down, what can you do in these next 30 days? What can you do today? What can you do, in the next hour in order to move the ball forward? We focused on some culture things, some non-realty stuff. We started doing virtual happy hours right out of the gate. Last night, we transitioned that into virtual game night. So we had a bunch of people playing an online game, which was a lot of fun. And then the third leg of that stool has really been about education. I mean, I think one of the great things about the industry response to all of this has been how quickly we've transitioned to online learning opportunities, how quickly people who, whatever role they play in the industry, have been really, really gracious to get online and just start sharing expertise and best practices. And I think that's, one of the biggest encouraging things I've taken out of this was all the learning opportunities that have come from it.
So I love that. I love the virtual happy hours. And your coach called me and said he had attended one and said that it was serious. There was some serious drinking going on. People were really getting. They were having a legitimate happy hour. It wasn't just a Zoom meeting. It was like, cheers.
We're professionals, Verl. We're professionals.
I read an article. Chance, I read an article that Texas is leading the nation in alcohol sales during the COVID. So.
And guns. Take booze and guns. Don't forget that.
Alcohol and guns. So Nate, what are some of the things that you're doing with your agents, and how are you teaching them to message to what's going on in the marketplace today? What are the critical things that you believe are making the biggest impact on your ability to keep selling?
Well, I think communication is key, as Chance said. You know, we're pushing a lot of content out to our agents. And what's quite interesting is we have 145 agents in our company. All the different messaging systems don't always get through to them. You know, I would love to think that I could do a Zoom call and have 100% there, or we have a private Facebook group. They would listen to the message there, or they would get our weekly email that's detailed with multiple videos with all the content for the next coming week. You know, and looking at what do you need to do to help your agents. You know, you could start with a 30-day plan, a 60-day plan, 90-day plan. What we chose to do is do a weekly plan. So we create a weekly plan that I should have shared it with you. I got it on my screen, but it really just breaks down what they can do in a week. As Chance said, just
You
keep
can share
everybody.
It if you want. Hey, you feel
I'll
free
do
to
that
share
real
it.
quick.
We're all Zoom
All right.
pros here. You can share your screen, man.
Okay.
And I just want to give kudos to his management team for coming up with this, because they rolled this out really quickly right on. And the agents I've been talking to that are doing it, they love it, because it gives them a base to start with and something to do.
So like as an example here, you know, one of the best quotes that I heard, Nick Bailey from our company jumped on our office meeting the other day, says, now that we're at home, this is not time to clean your garage. This is not time to clean your closet. This is time to clean your database, right? And so what we're really telling our agents is to go in and really start touching base with your past clients, just calling them, asking how they're doing. We have an app that's called the First IO app, which is a pretty amazing technology. It takes your database and it kind of tells you who's most probable to make a selling decision in the next 12 months. So like I have a database of 6,000 people personally. It's exhausting to even try to think how to get through there. But the app is telling me, hey, these 2,000 people here are online searching for homes or searching for mortgages, they're remodeling, they're doing things that might cause them to move. So those are the ones that we're teaching our agents to, if you're gonna call people in your database, call people that have a higher propensity to move in the next 12 months. And just going through and working on that. You know, like this one here shows that to do something in the community, you know, we have a lot of agents that actually take this information. You see them out there making little gift baskets and ringing doorbells and running off and leaving stuff for their top 50, if you will. And then just learning, like you can see in that section there, we're just pointing them to different webinars, different Zoom calls that they can kind of hone their skills in, because we're really telling people, if you have extra time in your hands, you need to be working on yourself, because if you don't work on yourself, you're not going to improve. And then just going through some other productivity things, you know, doing videos into their database, into Facebook and Facebook Live. And we're, you know, yesterday I taught my team how to do virtual open houses, and I gave them a whole plethora of different ways to do it, and just teaching them how to use their Zoom accounts. And you know, the technology is here and the adoption is higher than it's ever been before. So to really help people along the way and making sure, you know, another thing while my screen's open here, I'll just share this. One thing that we've been doing is really tracking what's going on in our marketplace, right? So as an owner of a company, I started worrying about fallout, right? So here's fallout right here. This is the amount of fallout that we were looking at in April. In 2019, we had 30 deals fall out, and it was up 15. It wasn't huge, but it was up 50% over what last year's fallout was, right? And the same thing with April. But we start calculating that as, what does that mean? So in March, as an example, this year, we lost $481,000 in closable commissions to our agents. And the company lost about $34,000 coming in from those deals. So you need to know these things. You know, we're looking at for April, right? Again, so far for April, we have $180,000 in commissions that have lost. When you have agents, you know, we got 145 agents. Our agents are pretty solid. They average about 20 transactions as a whole per agent. You start having fallout, and then you start to look at things. You know, we created another spreadsheet, and gotta get this out of my way here. And basically, I'll move this over if I can so it doesn't show names. Let's see. But what we're doing is we're really looking at everybody that is where they're at, right? You know, what kind of split they're on, what's their cap, if you will. And we start looking at what's their pipeline. You know, what do they have in their pipeline? What do they have in the next 30 days, 60 days? What's their total pipeline? Then we start looking at people that are zeros. Now, some of these zeros might be a licensed administrative assistant, you know, but we start to go through and we start to analyze where is there a challenge, right? And Sarah will probably talk a little bit about, we're calling every single one of our agents, right? We're making a desperate attempt to talk to everybody. But I think the key is being able to see where everybody are in their flow, if you will. And if somebody had a deal that fell apart in March and another one in April, and those were the only 2 deals they had, that's traumatic, right? And we need to be, and here's what's funny. My administrative team called everybody in the company, 145 agents. I had like 3 or 4 people that they said that had a challenge, needed some assistance. And then I look at the numbers where 1/3 of our agents don't have anything in the pipeline right now. And I'm telling you, real estate agents have egos and they're not going to let you know, right? And so some of these people, we got to get our hands around. We got to keep them propped up. As Chance said, we got to keep them moving forward because they have to keep moving forward. We're encouraging them on what's coming. You know, we're training them. Sarah's getting ready to launch next week at the 12-week ramp program. And we're excited. And as a leader of the company, I'm expecting all 145 people to sign up for the ramp, right? You know, that's an expectation that is unrealistic expectation, but that's what I'm driving my leadership team, that it's unacceptable to have anybody left behind, right? And I believe this next 12 weeks going through the ramp program is going to take us right in, because that dam's going to break here in Phoenix, and the business is going to flow. So I just want everybody to be ready and able to handle the amount of business that we're going to have, because it was busy going into the marketplace. It's still kind of busy right now. I've shared, you know, I learned from Chance about sharing to the marketplace what's going on. So Chance was making posts of what's going on in the Houston area. A great idea. So I just started making posts on my social media and the building stuff for my agents to post on their social media of just showing how many homes have sold, right? How many new listings come on the market. And if you look at this particular week, right, 7-day period, 1,494 new listings went on the market, 1,790 went pending, 1,385 closed. Is that a slow market?
I think that's pretty. No, that's a lot of crap going on. If one of those isn't yours, then what are these agents doing that you're not doing? That's what I would message to my team and to my company, right?
And I think
someone's doing real estate.
Yeah, and I thank Chance for that, because again, this is giving not only my agents hope, this is giving the community hope. When they can see that, hey, real estate's still moving, right? Now, nobody knows what this means, right? They don't know that maybe last April it was 20% higher, but that's really not the message here. The message is, you know, things are moving. I mean, you can look at this month, 1,700 new listings, you know, 1,200 closed, 342 coming soon, you know, in a week. Again, you know, Phoenix is big. You know, we're a huge market. You know, we're 5 million people. But, you know, I mean, we can look at this negative, Verl. There's almost 60,000 realtors in Phoenix, and only 1,700 of them got a check that week.
I'll correct you on that. There's actually 89,000.
Again, so I'll challenge you on that. But the fact of the matter is, the numbers are the numbers, and pushing forward and letting the public know that the market is still moving. And again, our river's just flown a little bit lower, a little bit slower, but it will fill back up and start to crank again.
So, Sarah, thank you, Nate. So a lot of good information on there. So a few bullet points that I'm picking up are, you know, message to the market, to what's happening, and make sure your agents know how to demonstrate that. The other one is that he's like, from a leadership perspective, he's done the analysis to find out who's in trouble and who's not, regardless of what they're telling you. And to me, I think that's a really important thing, that you actually understand what's going on in your brokerage. Your agents, you know, if they don't have anything coming in and they don't have anything in the pipeline, then that's an area of concern. How do we help them? How do we serve them? And by running a training like Sarah Michelle's getting ready to launch, and I want to hear more about that. You're running one of our first live online ramp programs. I want to talk about, from a training perspective, how you're approaching the development of the agents. Are you part of a team that's reaching out to every agent and calling them and seeing how they're doing, and then offering coaching help? Let's just kind of talk about what you're doing with those individual agents and what this program is going to look like going forward.
So I coined the phrase the red zone, right? The people that when Mike sent out that spreadsheet, and I'm like, just give me the people who are in trouble. Those are the ones I want to call. And so I spent what was that, Nate? Monday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon? I just went through and I called 25 of those agents. Interestingly enough, I did not leave that many voicemails. A lot of people answered the phone, and some called me back right away. I had one guy who talked to me for 23 minutes. So I was wanting to get off the phone and get on to my next call, but it was really interesting. And another thing, we were having a discussion last night in our virtual administration happy hour, because it was admin day yesterday, was that some people are reaching people, like one of our front desk people had someone confide something in him that agent hadn't shared with anybody else in the wellness calls that we're making. And so we've got multiple staff people, and those staff people have different relationships with agents, and same thing with me. I have a different relationship with them. If they come through training with me, I get to know them on a whole different level. So they're more willing to open up to me if they are in trouble. And so, using the different modalities of communicating with them, and it's not a one and done. We broke up the list in March and started making wellness calls to everybody. And then we did the staff. And so we're continuing to make those calls. It's not a one and done. And I wanted to share something that Chance had said. And I heard this quote from Tina Tabor, who's in market analysis in our Phoenix market. She said, "Don't make a permanent decision based on a temporary situation." And so that's really a very strong statement to have that conversation, not only with agents, but with our clients. Don't make a permanent decision based on a temporary situation. And so with RAMP, we're making the calls. Nate has assigned a staff person to me, or I should say an admin person, to help me, because I think the biggest challenge I'm going to have, Verl, is collecting data. When I was running BAM and SLAM, I did it a little different this time. I actually had what I call a buck slip, and they couldn't leave class until they had filled it out and given me their data for the week. I'm going to have a challenge with this being virtual. So we're going to have an admin person help me, and she's going to physically call everybody. And she's also going to go on the back end of the training center and police that to make sure they're actually watching the videos and making calls to remind them, hey, class is tomorrow. You haven't done your homework type thing. And then and helping me to catch the data, because the data is the most important part of that, right? I mean, it's one thing to go through the classes, but we need to know that they are doing points, that they are making calls, that they're putting deals into the pipeline. So, and I think what, the message that Nate's sharing with the data is that the stuff is still happening. It's not all doom and gloom. And so it might be slow, but there's still a piece of the pie that you can get. And so, and I know everybody's market is different, depending on what your state has deemed essential or not, but there's still things you can be doing. Can I share my screen on the tracker?
Sure.
Are you okay with that? Okay. So we took.
Yeah. So just hang on just a sec, Sarah Michelle. So you're talking so fast that I can't. That I'm trying to process everything that you're saying. No, I love the energy and incitement on there. It's funny because Nate's so easygoing and even paced, and then you're like this. You're like on crack and going a million miles an hour, and I say that in a positive way. The balance that you two must be incredible, meaning that you must balance each other out, and the medium that happens is probably a really positive thing. But you said you talked about things that people don't even know what they are. So you talked about BAM Live, SLAM Live, running live classes, doing trackers, things like that. A lot of people don't have access to the training that you have. Why don't you explain a little bit about what that is, and you can even show it if you want to share your screen. So share with them what you're doing. And I've given everybody that's on this call, if you don't have access to the same training, reach out to Randy on my team. We'll give you access to the training center for till the end of May, and you can just use it with your agents as well. So if I'm sharing something with you and it will help your office, I'd love to be able to make that available to you. So we'll just help you out if we can. Sarah, go ahead.
I assumed everyone knew what BAM, SLAM, and RAMP are. So let's back up. BAM is Buyer Agent Mastery, which is an 11-week course that you guys actually developed early on. And then you took it a step further and created facilitators so that we could get people together and do live classes. And then SLAM is the Seller Listing Mastery, and RAMP is the brand new shiny training program called Rising Agent Mastery. And in my mind, this is it is the best product you guys have put out. It's taking a combination of all of the other content and putting it into one it's new, it's relevant, it's sexy, it's very cool. So I'm excited to get to be one of the first facilitators to do it in a quote unquote live environment. I know Tammy Slay's doing it as well. So it'll be I'm a little competitive there with her, seeing how our numbers are going to look when we get done with the 12 weeks. So that's RAMP is Rising Agent Mastery. Again, it's 12 weeks. There's over 60 videos. So the concept is you're going to watch a video every day for 5 days. And then there is a 253-page workbook that accompanies that, that ties to each one of the videos and the homework assignments.
Awesome. And so show us the tracker you were going to show.
Hey, Verl, while she's pulling that up, I just, what we're trying to tell our agents is it's like spring training, right? So every professional athlete practices and practices and practices, and real estate agents, for whatever reason, think they can just go wing it all the time. So our next, 12 weeks is spring training, right? We're the home of spring training here in Arizona. Our agents understand that concept. And so I think what we're getting ready to launch with accountability, I think at a high level, that what I've been talking to Sarah about is having somebody calling them every week and be kind of an adjutant, if you will, to make sure we're asking the questions. And I believe the Hawthorne effect is going to take place, because whatever you measure, will rise. So I'm pretty excited about what we're going to do here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have help with the accountability piece of it. So I don't remember when it was, but Kat Rockwell from Chance's office took the top 50 top 50 tracker and put it on steroids. And then Nate and I were looking at it, and we decided to take it to our brokerage and how could we track the engagement from the agents, because we know from a retention point that if they stop engaging, that's when they're at risk of leaving. And so we've started being really intentional. We weren't so good in the beginning of the month, but you can see from March and April, making phone calls, emails. We also started tracking if they're attending office meetings and attending classes. So this is giving us an idea, and when we look at this, we can see where our holes are and who we're not connecting with, and then it's going to give us a score. So we're doing pretty good this month, Nate. We're getting an 80% on our engagement with our agents.
That's 8%, Sarah.
Oh, okay, 8%. I thought it had the extra zero in there. All right. So, but you can come in here and you guys can change this, and you can put if they came to an office meeting, training, we had a lunch with them, did we send them a referral gift, no card, text, anniversary, or birthday. So you can come in and you guys could change that too. And I think you guys are going to give this as a gift in the download, but you guys can modify that based on what your office needs are. But it's pretty amazing to see that data. And again, if they're not engaging and attending, or they're not taking our calls, then it gives us some really good intel on who might be in trouble.
I love that. I'm going to jump over to Chance for just a minute. And Chance, I appreciate you as we're going through what's happening over at Professionals. And clearly they're doing a lot of things to specifically develop their agents. What are some of the things that you're doing from a development perspective? And what are some of the tools and resources that you're sharing?
Yeah, so we have not started RAMP yet. We're probably going to in May. Kat, which Sarah Michelle mentioned, is my version of Sarah Michelle here. And so she's been working on this. She's the one that developed that top 50 tracker. And we put together this tracker with some help from Workman Success. I'm just going to share my screen real quick. Towards the end of last year. And this gives all of our internal systems, and there's a copy of this in that folder that is going to be shared. But really the idea here is so much of our development is really geared towards building habits, especially with our newer agents, our new licensees. We know that we've got them for a certain amount of time. So how much habit building can we build into this? So, it's got the classes that we wanted to do. They've got to do a demo of a buyer presentation, seller presentation. They've got to build out their top 50, things like that. They've got to work on scripts, and it tracks it, and it keeps a percentage of where they are as they go through the process. But really where the rubber meets the road is here in this monthly tracking where we're talking about how many DSH points are they putting in each week? Did they come to their accountability meeting that week? Have they put people into the lead tracker? Have they had face-to-face meetings? Have they touched people in their top 50? And since we started doing this and just building in these simple accountability measures, the numbers have just been phenomenal. Our new agent training program sold 27 homes in 2019. They sold 22 in Q1 of 2020.
Wow. Hey, can you show me your tracker that's being filled out? Do you mind sharing that? I'd love to see what it looks like when there's data in it.
Yep, be happy to. Let me get there real quick. You know, the other thing that I'll toss into the discussion here when it goes to what Sarah Michelle and Nate are doing with reaching out and touching everybody. You know, we've had this conversation, Cleve and I have, Nate and I have in a different group that we're on. You know, I don't think that the impact to the individual agent may have been felt just yet. Same thing goes with brokerages. I think that May is really going to be the month where the rubber hits the road for a lot of people, you know, and brokerages, because what you had in March is what you had in March. I mean, that was done before any of the COVID stuff really hit too hard. We were still doing things that would have closed in April, but I think May is going to be the differentiating month between the people who have been doing the things that they need to do to build their business, reaching out and touching their database, all of those things, and those who haven't. All right, let me share this back real quick now that I've got it up.
By the way, as Chance brings that up, if you have questions for Nate or for Sarah Michelle or for Chance, please use the chat box and type them in, because this is designed to be an open forum where we can talk with each other and share ideas that are working. And you know, I want all of you that are on this call to know that I'm monitoring the questions, and I'll do my best to make sure we get to everybody. And what I'm asking Chance to do is, I didn't prepare him for this, and so I'm just saying, you know, I love to see the data when we start getting it and we see how the agents are doing and what the results we're getting, and what it means to them. You know, it's one thing to have a great tracker, but if you don't know how to interpret the data and you don't understand now what as a result of getting the data, then it's just busy work. And I'm totally against busy work. I hate trackers for the sake of trackers. I want to make sure that we're doing something with the data. So tell me what you look at as a broker owner when you look at this, and then where do you look for gaps, and then how do you train to those gaps?
Yep. So the big thing for me when I look at this is, are they doing the educational things, this middle column that we really want them to go through? So part of that, you know, this part that you see right here where my cursor is, this is our version of RAMP right now. We're going to be switching to actual RAMP, but this is kind of, we've taken a greatest hits album of AMP, BAM, and SLAM, the 3 training programs that were existing before RAMP, and put them together into a 12 or a 13-week training class. And so I want to make sure that they're showing up for class. They're doing the things at our local board level, like going through the MLS classes, things like that, so they can actually do their job. And then the SOI top 50 is big. We want to make sure that they get those in. So our requirement is they have to have 100 people on their list within 30 days of joining our brokerage. So 100 people in their CRM. All of our tracking dates are built off of this hire date here. And then I'm immediately coming down into this bottom section, because I want to know, are they putting things in for daily success habits? I want to know, are they, and this is where when we train our trainers, this is the area we want them focused on, because this is that habit building component.
So I get pretty excited about that. Do any of you look at this and saying, I like this? Like, do you like the ability of having an agent onboarding process and then training that they have to go through that gets predictable results? You know, Shelly and Donna, as you guys are looking at this, tell me you guys want a copy of this, a copy of his tracker, so that you can, you know, edit it and make it your own and be able to do that with accountability. You like that idea? Give me some thumbs up or a smile and a nod. Randy's in. Yeah, okay, thank you. Mauricio, I appreciate it. So yeah, good. So I just want to make sure that you know that there's not just telling you about this, but on that landing page download, you know, Chance is giving you a copy of it. So, you know, I hope you'll take advantage of that.
Can I ask?
Advantage of that.
Can I ask Chance a question?
Yeah.
Who's responsible for gathering that data and putting it into is it the mentor?
So it was, and that was a mistake that we made. Because what happened with that, when we made that mistake, our entire accountability meeting ended up being the mentor going and filling in dates. And that's not what that meeting was intended to be. And so we opened up these top portions of this tracker so that the agent themselves could go through and just, Sarah Michelle, so you can see it, I'll show you this.
And they actually do it? I mean, obviously they're putting the data in there.
Yes, because it is checked every week in their accountability session with their mentor. So it is checked, but really where we want the mentor agents focusing is in this area when they're meeting one-on-one with an agent. That's what we want them to, that's the money right there. That's what we want them to be working is, are you making phone calls? You know, are your daily success habits coming from actual contacts, or are your daily success habit points coming from, I spent 7 hours role playing?
Right.
So we want to make sure that they're actually doing the revenue generating activities. And then I'll just back out of here real quick so you can see this, Sarah Michelle, because so this is Kat Rockwell's actual folder for her mentees. So she's got 5 mentees right now. She actually has her own tracker that when it pops up, it shows where each one of her people are and where they're deficient. So she can take a 30,000 foot view look at what's going on in their business and where she knows, you know, the gaps to train to, right?
That's awesome.
And then I have one of those as well for everybody.
So I'm gonna shift directions with everybody if you allow me to. Did you have something else you wanted to comment on, Nate or Chance?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Chance, you got 300 agents in your company. How many people are going through this mentor-mentee process?
Right now I have 27 people going through that.
27. So let's say I moved to Houston and joined your company. Do I go through that same process with the mentor? Or is there I don't need a mentor, but would I be able to follow up that process?
Yeah, I mean, all of these things, at the end of the day, all of these things are in our training center. I mean, daily success habits, all that. It's really the accountability piece of the habit form, right? So if you're an experienced agent, Nate, and you come to Houston, you want to jump on this, you know, I'm not going to put you through the, hey, you've got to come to each one of these classes because you've been doing this long enough. You don't need to know how to, you know, reach out to a lender for something. But all of these tools are absolutely available to every single one of our agents. And I think that's why we have, you know, a significantly higher than average transactions per agent, sides per agent than most brokerages in the area. Especially, I'm a fee-based broker, so.
So I'd like to ask you all a question and be thinking about this, and we can kind of go through and answer it. But how many of you are looking at this as an opportunity to recruit? And what are the opportunities that exist in the market when other leaders have gone silent? I mean, you're clearly investing in your agents. You're doing additional training. You're doing other things. How are you transitioning that into serving agents that aren't with your company and opening up discussions for the possibility of joining you? So, you know, in any order, who'd like to address that first?
So I've been recording all of my Remax Momentum classes, and we've been, you know, depending on how long they are, kind of breaking them out into hour-long segments and pushing those out to Facebook. We're going to start live streaming as well into either Facebook or, you know, because Nate's idea is that the more they see that we're doing for agents, the more likelihood that, hey, I want to go work for that brokerage. Look what they're doing for their agents. So that's one thing that we've implemented, and we're going to continue to make additional changes to that so we can stream to Facebook. Because we have a pretty good audience on there, and it's interesting. A couple of the classes that we did, we had some non-Remax agents join in, you know, virtually. So that was kind of exciting.
Chance, are you seeing any opportunity in this market?
Yeah, you know, it's a fine line you have to walk, right? You don't want to be that guy that's like recruit while you're sitting at home and be obnoxious about it. But you know, we have talked about what's the service that we can provide to other people that maybe they're not getting right now. And so some of our professional development things, we do an event, you know, once every 6 weeks or so called Open Mic Night, which is kind of a TED Talk sort of forum where somebody gives, you know, their expertise on a subject, and then everybody else that's there is able to jump in and share best practices and do things like that. And we've been doing that for probably about a year, maybe a little bit more now. And it's been, it's been really great. We usually have agents from a bunch of different offices there. It's not a recruiting forum, but hey, if you happen to like the fact that we do cool shit like this, then come on over. Yeah, it's been good. And we've done a couple of those live on Zoom. We've done a couple of them, a couple of classes online, and just tried to invite people and give them more opportunities to learn and use this, I hate to say the word downtime, but this time that they're stuck at home to really develop their skills and their trade.
Maybe we should use the term while you're on home arrest.
Yeah.
I liked what
so
Chance
Nate,
said. What Chance said the other day about physically distancing but socially connecting. That really resonated with me. So thank you for sharing that.
That's stolen from Todd Hetherington. So we just steal it and pass it around all the whole Workman crew.
Yeah. I think Todd stole that from me, but that's okay. We'll give him credit. I think that it's a right concept, right? Physical distancing, socially connecting. Nate, what's your attitude towards recruiting right now, and do you see opportunity out there to grow your agent count?
Yeah, I think the same thing Champ says. We're just trying to be a little loud at what we're doing and providing content to help people. We have a non-branded Facebook page as well that we're trying to create content, inviting more and more people to, where it's Arizona Realtor Mastermind. And so really just trying to give, the one thing that I've learned, somebody gave me knowledge, somebody mentored me 30 years ago, 34 years ago, whatever it was. That is what we've continued to do, is give of ourselves to other people. I like that type of recruiting. It's probably passive in a sense, but it's hard to recruit somebody and convince them to do something they don't want to do. But if you have enough data and content, and they can kind of see your heart and see what you're doing to try to help the community, I think those are the type of people I want to attract. I've learned for almost 19 years of owning a brokerage, I've had over 1,000 people come through my doors. People leave for their reasons, and they join for their reasons. And, you start to understand who you really want in your camp. And if people come, you can kind of see the ones that you don't want, right? So we're never going to be the biggest. We just continue, at least in our state, we've been for the last 10 years, the highest production per agent in the state of Arizona. And I think we rank 32 in the US. So it's because we have a small group that kick ass, excuse my language, and we want to continue that process.
That's awesome, man.
I don't think there's any better recruiting tool than signs in yards. And when you help your people be productive, that creates the momentum in the marketplace that you're all looking for. It was interesting. I reached out to Cleve Gaddis last night, who's on the call. Cleve's one of our master coaches, and he actually coaches both Nate Martinez's team and Chance Brown's team. And I said to Cleve, I'm looking for some dialogue. I want to do a recruiting script. And he said, basically, in his Cleve way, what kind of an idiot are you? You don't need a recruiting script right now. You need a way you're going to call agents and ask what kind of help they need. How can I help? And if they basically should have to talk you into having a recruiting conversation because you're not leading with it. Is that true, Cleve?
Yeah.
He does it in a really sweet way, though, where you don't feel like an idiot because of the Southern drawl.
You pick it up later. Later, when you're contemplating the words that he used, you're like,
oh, I think Cleve called me a dumbass on our call today, but I'm not sure.
I think we have to be careful.
Talk about it. Let's talk about it.
We have to be careful. So the people we're trying to recruit are the people who feel lost. They feel like everything's kind of going off and leaving them. But we want to recruit the lost but competent people. We want to recruit the people who are competent, can make it happen, but they just feel lost. And so if we sort of directly recruit them, hey, maybe things aren't going well with your broker. Maybe we've got something else we can offer you. They might not perceive it correctly. They might perceive us trying to take advantage of a situation that take advantage of their suffering. And the truth is if they're lost, it's because nobody's teaching them what to do during this crisis. And everybody with Workman has way more tools of how to use to deal with a crisis than anybody else out there, I think. And so take some of those tools and offer to give them away to other people. You could start out with the 30-day coronavirus crisis plan that we published, 5 weeks ago now or 6 weeks ago now, and just share that stuff. And if you get people through your social media network or your email distribution list or whatever who are interacting with you about a particular item, it's because they need help. It's because nobody else is helping them with that. And it's easy to identify the people you should probably have a conversation with. This is my thought.
You know,
Yeah,
if I could just add to that, you know, many brokerages out there have invisible leaders, right? They don't even know what to do, how to communicate to their agents. And if you're being visible out in the marketplace in a helping way, all of a sudden you're becoming their broker when you're not their broker, right? And I think that's something to be said. There are a lot of people out there that have just frozen in time and don't know what to do. As Chance said, there's going to be some fallout, you know, in May and June. There's going to be some brokerages that aren't going to be able to make the commission, pay the commission to their agents, right? Because they don't have money to continue operating. They're going to, you know, we saw this when the market crashed before. I saw some of the biggest real estate companies, I mean, multi-offices, you know, one of the largest C21s in the US, one of the largest RE/MAX offices in the US, fall to the ground when the market crashed, right? This is not a market crash, but it's different. And you go 2-3 months without revenue and you're not keeping your people happy and they leave, there's going to be massive opportunity to collect some of the better agents out of some of those fallouts in the future.
I agree with that. Just final thoughts, everybody, as we kind of wrap up the call. I want you to know I appreciate your engagement, your willingness to share with brokers and owners the things that they can do to message differently, to share with their agents, to develop and train. I'd like, if you would, just give me your final thought of, you know, if there's one message that you would like to communicate to the other brokers on the call about what they can do that'll make the biggest impact on their agents, will you share that one thing with me? Sarah Michelle, let's start with you. Like, if you could just have, if you had a consulting call with any broker on this call that said, give me your one thing, what would it be that would make the biggest impact?
Do your wellness calls. Call everybody in your brokerage, and it's not a one and done, and you got to have a sincere conversation with them. And how are you doing? How's your family? What can we do to help? And, you know, I've been on my 25 red zone calls that I made the other day was, how's your business? How's this impacting your business? What's in your pipeline? And having that conversation. So I just pick up the phone. I think Chance had touched on that. That was the one thing that was the bullet that was shining the most. And that applies to our databases as well. Just pick up the phone and call people. You know, as much as we have these devices right here that connect us around the world, there's never been a time that humanity is more starved for real connection. And now's the time to deepen those relationships. And if you show up as a leader in your market and for your agents when other brokerages are not, you're going to stand out. And when the dust settles, you're going to be the agent or the brokerage that they choose.
Absolutely true. Nate?
You know,
Final thought?
I'll add one step to what Sarah said, right? You know, we've gone through a couple of waves of wellness calls and then like the Sarah's Red Zone deeper calls. But the next thing that we're going to do is really on that spreadsheet that I didn't show you, there's actually a column for action, right? So it's great when any one of my leadership team makes a call to somebody, and here's what some of the calls say. You know, well, we're thinking about joining RAMP, we're not too sure. We're thinking about doing this, but we're not too sure. And then that's where the call ends, and that's not the way the call needs to end anymore. We need to find out what is the next step that they're going to do. Let them make that decision. If they're gonna get up and take a shower every day, okay, let's write that down as an action plan, right? Whatever it might be, we need to have an action to keep them accountable too. And you know, it's all about building relationships, but I think it doesn't matter with all the knowledge in the world, it's all out there, right? The only thing that makes a realtor any money is action. The only thing that makes the broker any money is the realtor creating the action. So you gotta teach them, you know, as Chance said in the beginning of the call, he's just got them all facing forward, trying to get them to move a little bit forward, right? And that's the process. And by building deeper relationships, I counted yesterday, 9 hours of Zoom calls. 3 of them with our agents in some different capacity. You know, one was with Cleve and Chance on an amazing mastermind group. It's just constant information, then trying to synthesize that information and piece back to your agents what they need to hear.
I love that. So stay in action. So Sarah Michelle's one thing is, you know, the check-in wellness calls, how you doing, how can I help? Nate says, don't leave it with how can I help, leave it with what you're going to do next, and make sure that there's an action item. Chance, final thoughts for this group of what they can do to make the biggest impact in the next week?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to come up with something, super clever and creative and different than what they just said, but really it boils down to just reaching out and touch the people in your database, reach out and touch the people in your brokerage, make sure they're doing okay. If you're able to help with something, if you're an agent, you're calling out and you're talking to people in your database and you can go and help, whether it's deliver groceries, pick up something, run an errand for somebody who needs that kind of help, and you're willing and able to do that, great, go do it. We have a saying in our brokerage that is do 4, not 2. And it's about, service before opportunity, what we talk about a lot. And so, if we can do that, if not, like Sarah Michelle said, I mean, people will answer the phone right now. People are craving the opportunity to talk to somebody other than the 3 or 4 people they've been locked in a house with for 30 days or more. And so, I think it's important to make those calls. And then, if I could just add one final thing, be the source of real, accurate information. There's so much misinformation out there, and it's so easy to just hit share on a Facebook post or this or that and spread a bunch of nonsense. Don't share something unless you know it's right.
I love that, and thank you for sharing. I think that every one of you are here because I asked you to be here just to give and to share, and I want you to know how much that I appreciate all that you're doing, not just for Workman Success Systems, but for your agents and your communities and your brokerage and the real estate community as a whole. So on behalf of all of us on the call, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being on the call today for our Broker Town Hall with Nate Martinez, Sarah Michelle Bliss, and Chance Brown. I wish you the greatest amount of success as you go out and continue to serve those you care most about and those who you expect nothing in return from. And as you serve without the expectation of any kind of return, you're going to find the real happiness that occurs by giving to others. And I challenge you to all do that. So thanks for being here. We'll talk to you all soon. Appreciate it, everybody.
Have a great day.
Thank you.